Been thinking about all the years we've been coming here to the Philippines. We came here the first time in 1997. And I remember when Alan and Mary Tess Branson asked me to come up to the village of Hinugasan up in the mountains here. And I went into that village and I was just horrified and shocked by what I saw. In fact, I coined this phrase that the people here, the Katatubo people, or what the Tagalogs call the Mungyans in this area, were an almost forgotten people. And it seems like they were almost forgotten because in the villages, I had never seen any kind of conditions like this in my whole life.
Malapit na namang lumubog ang araw, dilim ng gabi, darating na naman. Sa paghimlay mo'y, isip mo'y naglalakbay, nakatanaw sa kawalan.
I saw old black and white pictures from the 1940s after the Japanese were driven out, and I saw the pictures of the Mungyan or the Katatubo people with the soldiers, and were no different than what I saw in 1997. The disease and the conditions, the fungus on the skins. The first videos we shot here in 1997 have been shown on some of our programs, and those videos and those pictures still haunt me today because of what I saw there. And over the years, we hiked into the mountains and we got newer footage of the conditions of some of the people there with just terrible situation, beetle nut coming out of their mouths and their teeth missing, and they hadn't taken baths for weeks and living under the bondage of superstition. And it was just heart-wrenching, and realized that we needed to do something to help these people. And one of the things that was really necessary was the need of Christ in the villages, to be able to free the people from the shackles of superstition and bondage, and to be able to establish some kind of self-worth in Christ. And education was going to have to play an important part. So I remember back in early 1998, I asked Jim and Moni Webb to come here. And they were retired business people in the state of Texas, and I knew that they could possibly come and troubleshoot this project and help us with some ideas maybe. Jim and Moni Webb came here and they were only going to stay for like 6 or 7 weeks, and now it's been 16 going on 17 years and they're still here. Working in these villages was an extremely hard thing to start out with. So we saw that education was going to be a key role, but trying to convince the older people that they needed to make changes was going to be almost impossible. They say old habits die hard, and that's really true. And so we realized that if any kind of change was going to take place, it's going to have to be through the young people, through the children. So we started schools. And you know, these people are like a nomadic tribe. They only stay in these little makeshift houses for a few months out of the year, and then they're up in the mountains doing slash and burn, planting rice and harvesting rice, and just living from one meal to the next, and oftentimes having times where they were starving and having to dig up poisonous root crops and washing them in the rivers to try to be able to find some kind of simple foods to eat, and eating what was called yami and cassava, and basically food that has no nutrition but puts a little bit of food in the bottom of their stomachs. So trying to establish a school in a place like this was extremely hard. And over a period of time, we started building schools. In fact, we built schools in some places and it just didn't work, and we had to move to a different place after that. And then places like Peñabayon, and we started having more and more students come, and I've got up to 103 students there. And then Agbaliti was another village that we established a school in, and it started growing, and we built a campus there. But being that the people were nomadic, the parents always wanted to pull their kids out of school, and they always would say things like, oh, we're Mungyan, you don't need education. This is the way our fathers lived and our forefathers lived. Dreams are for the Tagalog or the traditionals or the majority people, but not for Mungyans. Mungyans don't have dreams, they just live this way. But we encouraged the parents to keep putting their kids in school. Kids came and went, and we started setting a standard higher and higher for the kids. And we started seeing change starting to develop. Kids would come and go. Some of the kids would stay. Some of the kids would only last a half a year. And we started a rule saying that if they had 3 absences, they had to leave school till the next school year. And they started to understand that these foreigners, these Americans, were taking this education idea very seriously. And some of the children started attending school and not missing. Some of the children would come here very hungry. The teachers would feed them. And over a period of time, we started seeing the children grow older and older, and they started learning English. They started understanding their Bibles. They started growing and maturing, and it was a delight.
Education is a long-term process. I mean, we are not only teaching English and math to these kids. Actually, what we ask them is a complete mentality and culture change. We ask them to understand new concepts of life, planning ahead, hygiene. We try to help them to prepare for future.
And let me remind us that everything we're doing is to prepare these native children, these indigenous children, to become missionaries to their own people. That's our whole focus.
They are used to ask and demand for things, and we try to help them. You can do something with your life. You can be independent. You can prepare for yourself if you know how, and we are willing to teach you. So it's not only a matter of teaching English and math. There's much more behind it. And that takes time. It takes time for the parents to allow their kids to attend.
The parents always made it difficult, it seems like. The parents are constantly trying to pull their kids out of school. They just didn't see a vision for, the idea of education for this minority group here in the mountains. But then they would come to church services and they would listen to the missionaries preach. They started listening to their children talk to them in their homes. And you have to understand, in this kind of culture, there's very little interaction between the children and the parents. There's very little emotion, there's very little affection. The concept of saying, "I love you" to a child is almost unheard of. And the missionaries here were talking about the love of Christ, and they were touching the children. They were telling the children they loved them, and they were building these bonds, and these kids would go home and share with their parents the things they were learning. And this change started gradually to come. Some of the children started reading really well, and they started reading Bible books and reading books on history and geography and learning mathematics and learning their Bibles. And the teachers and the missionaries, the student missionaries that came year after year, were incorporating the Bible into their grammar lessons, into their mathematics. And so the children became more and more acquainted with the scriptures and the truths of the scriptures. And there's power in the Word to be able to bring about change. And that's probably, for me personally, one of the reasons I'm still a Christian today is because of the Word. It's not because of what people say, good or bad, either way, but it's because of the Word. I'm here, and I know it's because of that Word that will sustain these kids to stay in these schools and to be able to be part of a better society, to be able to come back to their own people group. back in around 2002, we decided it'd be a really good opportunity as the school started to grow to start having student missionaries come here. And I remember the first student missionary was a young man by the name of Tim Delatorre. He came here from California. And that opened the door for a wonderful opportunity for young people to be involved with this project. We've had young people that have come here from South Africa, from various parts of Europe, and also from Australia. And most recently we have a young girl named Andrea that's here from the country of Honduras. These student missionaries have come and gone year after year, and they've worked with the students and helped them with understanding how to read and write and how to study the Bible for themselves. The real nuts and bolts, if I can say it that way, of making this whole operation successful is our Filipino and Filipina co-workers. They've come from all different parts of the Philippines, Tagalog, Visayan, Ilocano, various different areas in the Philippines that have come here. Frank and his wife have been in this particular village 8 years working with these children. And each one of these student missionaries have brought with them a bonding relationship of hugging the kids and telling the kids that they love them and helping them to grow spiritually and to be able to teach them better English and to teach them math and history and geography and Bible and all these different things. But more than that, that they found out that the world is considerably bigger than this little village here. And so they started learning about, wow, where did this student missionary come from? Oh, they're from Switzerland. And they got on a map and they actually started grasping the concept of the globe, the world, and that there was these other countries and different cultures and people groups, and they were black and yellow and white and brown. And it's just been a really wonderful opportunity. This is a great opportunity for young adults who are college age to spend 1 year here and work in these villages. So Andrea, you're here from Honduras. How do you like it so far?
It's been a good experience. The village, the kids are really friendly. At first they're really shy, but then when you get to know them, it's a really good friendship you have with them. So
How long have you been here now?
I think like a month. I think. I don't count the days.
And today, where are you going?
I'm going to Minuagan, to the village I'm going to be until...
So you haven't had the opportunity to see where you're going yet?
No, not yet.
And how are you going to get there?
Hiking.
How many hours did they say?
Some of them told me 6 hours, some of them 5 hours, so I'm going to say
If
6.
you eat lunch, it's going to be 6.5 hours probably.
Yes.
So you ready for that?
I think. Just let's see what the challenge.
Okay, well, we'll see you on the other side and see how you're doing when you get there.
Well,
or if you make it.
I know I'm not going to be like this.
Are you
I'm going to be all dirty, maybe some leeches in my legs or something like that. Yes.
Okay, well, we'll see you on the other side.
Well,
Safe trip.
Okay, thank you.
We left on Laymen Ministries' boat that same day to go to the village of Benawangan, while Andrea, with the students and teachers, took a bus to Palawan, then hiked the 5-hour trip over the mountain. We started out by loading the boat down with supplies for all the villages. This is what we do every single time we need to take supplies out to the villages where we have projects. Are you dying? How about you? How are you doing?
I'm okay. Since I'm here, I thought I was never going to get here.
Is this what you were expecting so far?
It actually looks more beautiful.
More beautiful?
Yes, no, I thought that they were like wood houses.
So you haven't seen inside yet though. The
No, I
big
haven't.
spiders and snakes, and
They told me about the snakes.
that's just not very, doesn't happen very often.
Yes.
We never had the opportunity to be in the village when a student missionary is just arriving, so this is kind of a new experience for me too.
Oh, that's
So I'd
fine.
like to see your reaction, but so far you seem pretty favorable towards it.
It's because people just told me the village is ugly and you're not going to like it, but I think it's just looks
Well, this is the
okay.
campus in the
Yes.
actual village. You got to see a few of the houses when you came in there.
Yes.
It's pretty interesting, huh? This is where you're going to be staying right here.
Let's see.
I actually gone in and kind of looked everything over to make sure it was looking pretty good for you.
Can I close my eyes or something like that?
So this is it.
Whoa.
We have a nice little living area here.
Yes.
And we brought you a new mattress. You probably knew that, huh? And so you
Oh, I
got-
haven't. Yes.
There's your new mattress. And then you got your bed there. And then this is the kitchen in here. And you got this, but there's no gas bottle. I think
Oh.
that they maybe forgot to give you a gas bottle for it.
I can cook with fire, so that's
you,
great.
you know how to cook with fire?
No, no, I can't.
You've got a lot of things to learn here.
Okay, that's.
Oh, the one thing I want to show you is the CR.
Oh, the comfort room.
Take a look at this. Go take a look, see what you think here. That's how you're going to take baths. With that thing, you take it.
Yes, the deeper.
Yeah, the pitcher over your head, and then you got a little toilet there. And you think you're going to be able to take that water and just pour it over you like
I
that?
think, but I don't know why they call it comfort room. It doesn't look so comfortable for me.
Yeah, we always thought that was kind of oxymoron too. I feel like they call it a comfort room, but it's not very comfortable. This is going to be your new home for how long? You're going to stay here till April, right?
April, yes.
Wow.
While
That's a
I was
pretty-
hiking, I was thinking I should have got in the boat.
Well, that's a pretty long walk. How
Yes.
many hours do you have any idea?
We started hiking from 11:30.
This morning?
Yes.
Wow, and it's almost 5:30 now. This is how the people live here. And there's actually a couple families here. The children are back. This is the Holmes. Hi. How are you?
Hi, good
This is a
afternoon.
new girl coming to work here in the school.
Magandang hapon po.
Ooh, magandang hapon. Let's walk down through here. And some of the kids are happy to be home. You can see that. Have you ever seen them pound rice like this before?
No.
This guy is an expert rice pounder. So they take this thing, and this is how they, instead of having a machine do it. And so this is going to be a real common sound the whole time you're in the village. Every evening about this time they hear over and
The pounding up.
poof, yeah. You want her to try?
Can do it.
It's a lot easier than it looks. I mean, a lot harder than it looks.
Like that. I think you should do it.
Okay. I'm gonna
was
waste
better?
his rice if I'm not careful. Just look at, he's got it hardly so it doesn't hardly come out. It just kind of goes up like that. And see, like inside there, they have a fire burning inside there, and the houses never catch on fire.
just this past week dedicated the first all Catatubo meaning native or indigenous person, high school accredited by the Department of Education specifically for indigenous tribe in all 7,107 islands of the Philippines. So Laymen Ministries has a first here.
You have to understand that some of the children in these villages, maybe they've walked over the mountain to the small town of Palawan, which is about a 5-hour hike, and they've seen a jeepney or a car or something like that, but they've never ridden in a car or a jeepney. They've never really gone any farther than that. They've seen very little of quote, Western society. These people are really primitive people. And we hired a professional big air-conditioned AC bus to come to the town of Palawan, and all the children from these 3 villages from our schools hiked over the mountains with their teachers. And you know, the older kids, not the little children like the kinders, first, second, third graders, but the ones that are just about ready to graduate and be in high school next year didn't want to go. You know why? Because they were afraid of what the Tagalog, what the Filipino majority people would say. Oh, look, here comes the Mungyan, here comes the Mungyans. And they didn't want to go because they were afraid of being made fun of. But they went anyhow. The kids were coming down into the little town of Palawan. There was a Tagalog man there, and sure enough, the kids were thinking, a couple of the older kids were thinking, oh, this guy's going to make fun of us. And this guy, this Tagalog Filipino man, walked up to the one boy and he said, oh, you're going to that school, that special high school for the Catatubos today. They're having a dedication there. Wow, you have a chance for an opportunity of a lifetime. You should go there and do the best you can. And they were surprised to see, not negative response, but positive response.
That's why we're giving them a first-class education. We're grounding them firmly in their spiritual life, and we're preparing them to be able to attend any college here in the Philippines, because when they finish college as a pastor, as a teacher, as a nurse, whatever, they will be coming back and ministering directly to their own people.
And then there was some people, of course, looking at this large group of Catatubo children walking down the street, and they were like talking, and laughing a little bit, and the kids were noticing that. And then this big bus pulls up, this big, huge air-conditioned bus that even some of the Filipinos don't even ride out here in these these more remote island places. And all of these Mungyan children, these Catatubo children, got on this large AC bus, and the laughing stopped. Then they arrived up on the property. This is kind of almost proverbial in a sense, because these people are considered mountain people. Most of the Catatubos, while they have little houses like this, maybe down by the seashore, the majority of the time they're way up in the mountains, hiding under the trees, sleeping in the trees, sleeping under some branches and brush, a nomadic tribal people. And the new academy that we've built there is on top of a mountain with a wonderful view of the South China Sea on one side and the mountains all around. And so here is a place that's kind of almost like a heaven on earth for these Catatubo. And they got out of the bus and they were just standing there. A lot of them, they're excited to see each other and be there, but then they started looking around. And this morning in church, some of the students that went there started giving their testimonies about being there. One boy said, oh, the new buildings for us. These buildings are not for Tito Jim and Moni, or it's not for Laymen Ministries. Those buildings are for us. And those buildings are made from mirrors. The doors are mirrors. And one boy said, and the lights are in the ceiling. And when I looked down, I could see myself like a mirror in the floor. I never even thought about anything like that. It's just for them leaving these kind of conditions here and then going to a place like that with the tile floors and the white walls and the solar reflectors, bringing light into the buildings and electric lights, and it was a little bit of culture shock. But what was unique was the fact that they realized, and we emphasized this while they were there, that this is dedicated for them and for their future and for their future education.
We had a dedication here on the mountain with politicians, with our students, with members of the Adventist Church and representatives from there. And when Jim and I discussed about the program, we thought, what will we do? Usually you dedicate or inaugurate a building, but we said it's not about any building, any construction we have here. It's about people. And so we tried to shift the focus from the building to the people, dedicate people. And while we had the program here, it really was a spiritual program. And I was impressed also how the governor and the congresswoman, they felt the spiritual atmosphere. They even cried there in the first row. And in the speech the Congress lady gave, she also expressed it. And that uplifted my soul and made me so happy to see that our mission work is not only the education of our young people, but always to focus them on God. And even in an event like a dedication of a building of the high school, to focus on God and to uplift Him.
And it's our goal that this school will become a lighthouse, a beacon on a hill, a bright light amongst the Cotatoubo people, that they too can come back and work among their own people group, that they can be nurses, doctors, that they can be missionaries and Bible workers, pastors, and come back and work among their own people.